The news dropped like a bomb. Loren and Alexei gone from TLC for life. No farewell, no slow fade out, no soft goodbye, just a sudden disappearance that sent fans into a spiral. Viewers who had followed their story for years opened their feeds expecting baby updates and found chaos instead. The same couple who once symbolized everything hopeful about 90 Day Fiancé had been cut out of the franchise's heart overnight. What could make a network erase its golden couple so brutally? Before we dig deeper, welcome to TLC Drama Live. I'm Sabrina. If you love real talk about the mess behind reality TV, hit subscribe and join our growing family of fans who see past the edits. And tell me in the comments, do you think TLC made a mistake, or is there something darker we don't know yet? The shock didn't come from the firing alone. It came from the silence that followed. Fans scrolled for statements, explanations, interviews. Nothing. No goodbye post from Loren, no hint from Alexei, just that cold corporate press line saying they'd mutually agreed to part ways. People started reading between every comma, asking if mutual was code for banished. Every unanswered question pulled viewers in deeper, turning confusion into obsession. For anyone new, Loren and Alexei weren't side characters. They were the steady heartbeat of 90 Day Fiancé through countless spin-offs. We met them as young lovers struggling through visa paperwork and cultural clashes. We watched Loren open up about living with Tourette's syndrome, showing strength and humor that made millions respect her. Alexei, calm and quietly loyal, balanced her fire. Together, they made audiences believe that maybe reality TV could still show something real. Then, years rolled by, and their lives became part of ours. We watched them marry, move, fight, laugh, and build a family. When Loren cried through fertility treatments, people cried with her. When they finally had baby Shay, it felt like a shared victory. And when their family grew again, viewers rooted for them as if they were cousins they'd known forever. That connection wasn't accidental. It was the franchise's magic. TLC built that bond, and now TLC had broken it. Online, theories started flying. Some said they quit because they were tired of cameras. Others said they were fired for something big and unspoken. Screenshots, Reddit threads, and fan pages lit up within hours. A few fans even accused TLC of exploiting their most intimate moments and then discarding them once their usefulness ran out. The tone shifted from shock to anger. People weren't just gossiping anymore. They were grieving what felt like the end of an era. If you think about it, that's the wildest part. A scripted drama kills off characters all the time, and people move on. But this wasn't fiction. Viewers had watched real people grow up in front of them. To many, Loren and Alexei weren't just a storyline. They were comfort, proof that the show could still be about love instead of scandal. So when TLC's statement landed without empathy, it hit like betrayal. And that's what makes this story so charged. It's not only about two people losing a job, it's about millions of fans losing trust. The same network that encouraged viewers to care deeply is now being called cold and careless. The question echoing through every comment section is simple but brutal. How did a love story that built the franchise become the reason people stopped believing in it? Before the fallout, Loren and Alexei were the couple everyone pointed to when the show got too messy. They were proof that sometimes the cameras could capture something real. Their story started in Israel when Loren, a sharp-tongued New Yorker working at a youth hostel, met Alexei, a medic who had this calm strength about him. She was loud, fast-talking, funny. He was quiet, measured, patient. That contrast made them magnetic. Every scene between them had a spark that didn't feel produced. When they appeared on season 3, viewers instantly picked sides in playful debates. Team Loren or Team Alexei, but both sides were rooting for them to make it. Their K1 visa journey had every ingredient for chaos. Paperwork delays, family nerves, long-distance strain, yet they kept finding a way to meet in the middle. Loren's openness about her Tourette's syndrome became one of the show's most powerful moments. She didn't hide it or let editors frame it as pity. She faced it head-on, turning what could have been reality TV embarrassment into education and visibility. Fans admired that honesty, and it gave the couple credibility that others on the show lacked. People saw them as authentic, and once you earn that in this franchise, the audience protects you fiercely. Their wedding in Israel was messy in the best way. Families clashed, tempers flared, and everyone cried anyway. That chaos reminded people why they watched, because even when things went wrong, love somehow won. After the wedding, Loren moved back to Florida. And Alexei's adjustment to American life became its own storyline. He missed home, struggled to find work, and wrestled with being seen only as the hot Israeli husband. Meanwhile, Loren juggled her own insecurities, her parents' opinions, and the constant pressure of proving the marriage was real. Their fights were real too, and they didn't sugarcoat them. When they argued, viewers felt it. Then came the baby years, the fertility battle, the heartbreak of miscarriage, and the eventual joy of welcoming Shay. TLC cameras were there for all of it. Loren let people see the raw parts, shots, doctor visits, tears on bathroom floors, and in doing so, she made others feel less alone. When they finally held their first son, fans flooded comment sections like proud relatives. Their story became a shared emotional timeline for millions. The couple grew more confident on screen, appearing in spin-offs like Happily Ever After and Pillow Talk. Their banter was sharp and funny, like two people who'd figured out the secret to surviving each other. They'd roll their eyes, laugh at other couples' drama, and remind viewers why they were still fan favorites. The show leaned on them for stability while other relationships imploded. They were the calm center of the storm, the normal couple everyone compared the rest to. But stability can be a double-edged sword on reality TV. When you're the one couple that isn't chaotic enough, the network starts to look elsewhere for fireworks. As newer, louder cast members arrived, Loren and Alexei shifted from being the heart of the show to being the backdrop. Their storyline, family life, parenting, minor disagreements was real but no longer explosive. For a franchise built on cliffhangers and scandals, peaceful domestic life can start to feel like dead air. Still, their fanbase kept them relevant. People tuned in not for drama, but for comfort. They wanted to see Shai's milestones, Alexei's quiet pride, Loren's mix of sarcasm and exhaustion that every new parent relates to. They were the viewer's safe space in a franchise known for chaos. That loyalty made TLC money, but it also gave Loren and Alexei leverage. And maybe that's where things started to change. Because when reality stars gain real power, networks get nervous. The higher you rise in this franchise, the faster the ground starts to crack beneath you. When TLC finally made its announcement, it didn't sound like a goodbye. It sounded like paperwork. The press release was short, cold, and almost mechanical. It said Loren and Alexei had mutually agreed to part ways, and that their involvement in all future franchise programming had concluded. That was it. No thank you, no highlight reel, no acknowledgement of years spent building the network's most loyal audience. Fans read it once, then twice, hoping they'd missed something human. They hadn't. Within hours, Reddit threads multiplied. Screenshots of the statement were posted next to crying emojis, disbelief, and anger. People weren't reacting to what TLC said, they were reacting to what it refused to say. Everyone wanted to know why a network that profited from this couple's vulnerability would cut them loose without warning. The silence was worse than an explanation. When a story this big ends with no words, people start writing their own. The phrase mutually agreed became a meme overnight. Viewers translated it in real time. They got fired. They were too expensive. They exposed something TLC didn't want public. It was corporate language doing what corporate language always does, hiding mess behind polite words. Fans who had once trusted the network now accused it of exploitation. They said TLC built Loren and Alexei up, squeezed every emotional moment out of them, then tossed them aside once the storyline stopped making ratings spike. This was the same network that filmed Loren's tears during her miscarriage, showed her panic before giving birth, and aired her Tourette syndrome struggles to millions. The same network that sold merch, promo clips, and spin-offs off that family's name. And now, without warning, it was as if none of it had ever happened. You couldn't even find old promos on their social channels anymore. It felt like an erasure. The fandom started saying what everyone else was thinking. If this could happen to Loren and Alexei, it could happen to anyone. The rage spread fast. Fans flooded TLC's social pages, demanding answers. Some called for boycotts, others posted old clips of Loren's most vulnerable moments with captions like, "You used her pain for profit." A few even wrote open letters to the network, accusing it of emotional manipulation. Whether or not that's fair, it shows how powerful the parasocial bond had become. People didn't feel like viewers. They felt like betrayed family members. TLC, true to form, said nothing. No interviews, no clarifications, no leaks to soften the backlash. The silence felt strategic. Let the noise burn itself out, then move on. But this time, the noise didn't fade. It grew louder. Theories started twisting into accusations. Some fans claimed Loren and Alexei were silenced by non-disclosure agreements. Others believed the network wanted to bury something scandalous before it spread. Even reasonable people started to question what "for life" really meant in that statement. When the official story stops making sense, conspiracy becomes the comfort people cling to. That's where things started to split. A few fans defended TLC, arguing that maybe the couple wanted privacy after years on screen. They pointed out Loren's growing brand deals, her influencer partnerships, and Alexei's fitness business. Maybe they didn't need the network anymore, but the tone online said otherwise. This wasn't a calm parting. It was a fracture. The more people looked back, the more they saw cracks that had been hiding in plain sight. TLC wanted control, and Loren had become too independent. Her following grew bigger than some of the show's newer couples combined. She spoke openly on social media, sometimes before episodes aired, sometimes in ways that clashed with TLC's schedule. Networks don't like unpredictability. They want cast members who follow the script, even when the show pretends there isn't one. Loren's realness, once celebrated, now looked like defiance. When authenticity stops being profitable, television calls it a problem. Every reality TV couple reaches a breaking point where their image starts to crack, and for Loren and Alexei, those cracks had been forming for a while. At first, they were tiny, easy to ignore, even relatable. But over time, fans started to notice that the same transparency that made them lovable also made them targets. Old social media posts resurfaced, screenshots from years before the show, filled with language Loren later apologized for, came back like ghosts from a different era. She addressed it publicly, tearfully, and promised growth. Some fans forgave her, others never did. The debate turned messy, and in the 90-day fandom, messy spreads like wildfire. Then came the privilege problem. Viewers who once cheered their success began calling them out of touch. They'd built a comfortable life, new home, nice cars, sponsored trips, matching pajamas for every holiday. And while none of that was unusual for influencers, it clashed with the image that made them famous, the struggling couple fighting for their American dream. Fans accused them of cashing in on relatability while living like reality royalty. And once the comment sections turned, TLC noticed. Alexei didn't escape the heat either. Photos of him partying surfaced between the births of their first 2 children. Some were innocent, others less flattering. They showed him out late while Loren was home pregnant or caring for the baby. People started whispering about marital tension. Loren laughed it off online, saying every couple needs breathing room. But for a fan base trained to overanalyze, those pictures became evidence. They started connecting dots that might not even exist. In this fandom, perception is stronger than proof. And once a story takes off, no one can control where it goes. The couple also faced criticism for how much they shared about their kids. When Shay and Asher started appearing regularly on camera, fans were divided. Some adored it, others accused them of exploiting their children for content. Even harmless clips, bedtime routines, tantrums, bath time photos became points of debate. TLC's camera crews were part of that discussion too. As awareness grew about children in reality TV, people questioned whether the Brovarniks were putting fame above family privacy. That conversation never really died down. By then, Loren's personality, once her biggest strength, became polarizing. Her unfiltered humor, loud laugh, and blunt commentary that once charmed fans began to irritate some. They called her performative, said she was trying too hard to stay relevant. It's unfair, but it's familiar. The internet builds you up for being authentic and then tears you down for not being perfect. And in a genre where imperfection is the product, everyone's eventually accused of acting. Behind the scenes, TLC was shifting its focus toward newer couples. The franchise thrives on chaos, not calm. Loren and Alexei's story had become too stable, too family-oriented. There were fewer fights, fewer cliffhangers, and fewer reasons for producers to edit dramatic music over their scenes. Their strength as a couple, ironically, made them less valuable to a network addicted to turmoil. The people who played the long game, who grew, matured, built families, often became victims of their own success. When your real life stops being messy enough for TV, the cameras quietly turn away. Fans started noticing smaller changes first: less screen time, fewer promotional posts, shorter appearances in pillow talk. Then one season, they were gone entirely. Viewers assumed it was temporary. Maybe they were taking a break, maybe there was a spin-off coming, but the break never ended. Meanwhile, Loren's social media grew into its own empire. She was collaborating with brands, doing Q&As, and sharing motherhood content that performed better than TLC's own posts. Alexei launched online fitness programs. They no longer needed the network's platform to reach fans. That independence is powerful, but to a network that relies on exclusivity, it's dangerous. By the time the Fired for Life headline hit, the seeds had already been planted. The controversies, the brand shift, the fan fatigue, it all added up to one conclusion. TLC had lost control of its golden couple. And once that control slips, there's no turning back. The network that once built their fame now saw them as a threat to its authority. When the news broke, fans didn't accept TLC's version of events. They filled the silence with theories, each more dramatic than the last. Some said the network discovered something explosive behind the scenes. Others swore the couple had been blacklisted for speaking out about production issues. A few believed it was about money. Loren and Alexei were veterans, commanding higher pay than most newcomers. Maybe the network simply decided they were too expensive to keep. Whatever the reason, the mystery became the fuel. The less TLC said, the more people talked. Social media turned into a detective board. Every old clip, every Instagram story, every missing post became a clue. Fans cross-referenced timelines, comparing interviews, noting subtle changes in tone. Was Loren's last Pillow Talk video filmed before or after the fallout? Did Alexei hint at trouble when he posted about protecting peace? It felt like everyone was chasing a truth that might not even exist. When the network refuses to explain, every rumor starts sounding believable. The most popular theory was the unforgivable scandal. People speculated there was something serious, something that couldn't be made public. They threw around words like misconduct, legal trouble, or violation of contracts, but there was no proof, no report, no confirmation. Still, the theory thrived because it matched the scale of the punishment. To fire someone for life, fans said, there had to be something huge behind it. Then came the too expensive theory. After years of spin-offs, endorsements, and fame, Loren and Alexei were no longer rookie talent. They knew their worth. They had the audience data, the engagement numbers, the social reach, and that knowledge is power. Some viewers thought TLC simply didn't want to keep paying premium rates when cheaper couples could deliver more controversy. From a business angle, it made sense, but emotionally, it felt cruel. The third theory was more cynical, the toxic brand idea. It argued that TLC was distancing itself from anyone linked to past controversies. Between Loren's old posts, the fan debates about child privacy, and Alexei's club photos, the couple had become divisive. A segment of the audience adored them. Another was exhausted by them. Networks hate division. It threatens advertising money. So maybe TLC decided it was easier to cut ties cleanly than to fight another PR battle. The fourth theory suggested the couple's story had simply run its course. Viewers had watched their visa process, marriage, babies, and family life for years. What was left to show? Some fans said it wasn't firing, it was fatigue. The franchise needed new blood, and Loren and Alexei had outgrown the format. But if that were true, why the words "fired for life"? That phrasing didn't sound like a retirement, it sounded like a punishment. Every theory made sense on paper, but none explained the cold tone of that announcement. Others pointed toward contract breaches. Reality contracts are strict. Cast members aren't supposed to leak storylines, endorse competitors, or reveal unaired content. If Loren or Alexei had accidentally crossed one of those lines, TLC could have used it as grounds to terminate everything. But again, there was no confirmation, just fan logic and frustration. What made this moment different from other cast shakeups was the finality. TLC didn't say they'd part ways for now. They said it was over across all programming. That's why people started calling it a ban. It wasn't only about losing a show. It was about being erased from the entire universe they helped build. For longtime fans, it felt personal. As days passed, the theories didn't die. They evolved. Now there were whispers of internal drama, creative clashes, and even claims that Loren wanted more control over how her family was portrayed. The idea that she might have pushed back against producers caught traction. Viewers liked it because it fit her personality. Bold, outspoken, unwilling to be silenced, but without proof, it's all smoke. The longer the silence lasts, the louder the speculation becomes. And through all the noise, Loren and Alexei said nothing official. no interviews, no rants, no confirmation or denial. That silence felt strategic, maybe even protective. If there was legal tension behind the scenes, they couldn't speak. But their quietness made the mystery stronger. Every new post, even a harmless family picture, was dissected like a clue. People weren't just following updates, they were hunting for closure. The fandom's reaction to Loren and Alexei's exit was nothing short of explosive. It didn't feel like a celebrity breakup or a TV recast. It felt like a betrayal. Within hours, social media turned into a war zone. Facebook groups that usually shared memes and baby pictures became arenas of rage. On Reddit, long threads analyzed every frame of their last appearances. On TikTok, fans cried, speculated, and demanded answers in stitched videos that pulled millions of views. Everyone had a theory, but underneath all the noise, the emotion was the same: loss. People weren't just upset about losing content, they were grieving the sudden disappearance of a family they had emotionally invested in for nearly a decade. Viewers had celebrated the couple's milestones as if they were their own relatives. Shay's first steps, the birth of baby Ariel, Lauren's health struggles, fans had been there for all of it. So when TLC cut them off without a goodbye, it felt personal. The audience didn't just lose a TV couple. They lost the illusion that the network cared about them. You could see the grief stages play out in real time. First came denial. "This has to be a stunt," fans wrote. "They'll announce a new spin-off soon." Then anger. Comment sections filled with hashtags calling to boycott TLC. People accused the network of exploiting Lauren's disability story for ratings and then discarding her once she stopped being useful. Screenshots of the press release were shared with captions like "cold," "heartless," and "soulless." Then came bargaining. Fans emailed TLC demanding a reversal. They promised to watch every episode, every ad if the couple came back. Petitions circulated on change sites, some reaching tens of thousands of signatures. The energy was wild, part devotion, part desperation. People wanted closure, but TLC's silence made it impossible. Even fans who weren't particularly invested started paying attention, because the reaction itself had become news. And then the sadness hit. Longtime watchers admitted they couldn't bring themselves to tune in anymore. "It's like the soul of the show is gone," one user wrote. Others said the couple was the only reason they watched. There was nostalgia in the air. People rewatching old clips, quoting Lauren's iconic lines, reminiscing about Alexei's calm reactions. The comments felt like eulogies. Through all this chaos, one pattern stood out. Every time fans asked TLC for answers, the network ignored them. And that silence created a vacuum that fans filled with fury. When a network doesn't speak, the audience decides what the truth is for themselves. Influencers began weighing in too. Former cast members dropped vague comments about how the show really works. Others hinted that contracts were brutal and that cast rarely had control over how they were edited. Each vague post added fuel to the fire. People were no longer mad only about Loren and Alexei. They were mad at the entire system of reality TV. That's when the narrative shifted from a single couple's story to something bigger. Viewers started questioning how much of their favorite shows were authentic. They asked whether every emotional moment they'd cried over had been staged or forced. And if Loren and Alexei, the franchise's good ones, were treated like this, what did that say about everyone else? The betrayal was no longer just emotional. It was philosophical. Fans had been sold a dream of transparency and connection. Now, that illusion was cracked. Some said they felt used. Others said they felt duped. People who had followed 90 Day Fiancé since season 1 said it was the first time they saw the machine behind the magic. The fan community split in two. One side defended Loren and Alexei fiercely, calling them victims of corporate greed. The other said the couple had changed, gotten too famous, too filtered. Both sides posted nonstop, tagging TLC, tagging cast members, tagging journalists, refusing to let the story fade. Every time a new episode aired without them, the silence screamed louder. And that's what kept the drama alive. TLC's biggest problem wasn't the firing, it was underestimating how deeply people cared. They thought the audience would move on to the next couple. Instead, fans treated this as a collective breakup. Because in the world of reality TV, loyalty isn't just about entertainment, it's about emotional investment. And when that bond breaks, people don't forgive easily. At some point, the conversation stopped being about Loren and Alexei and turned into a mirror for the whole industry. Fans began realizing how much of their own emotion they'd invested into these stories. People started asking hard questions. Why do we feel so attached to people we've never met? Why does it hurt when a TV network cuts someone off? It's because reality television has blurred the line between entertainment and intimacy for years. We see these couples cry, fight, and rebuild, and our brains process it like friendship, not fiction. That connection is what made Loren and Alexei's removal sting so deeply. For years, they were the calm in the chaos. Their story wasn't perfect, but it was consistent. Fans felt like they grew up with them. When Loren had her first baby, some viewers were having their own. When she opened up about postpartum struggles, women around the world saw themselves in her exhaustion. That's not casual entertainment, that's shared experience. But the network never saw it that way. To TLC, every emotional moment was footage. Every tear was content. It's the business model of reality television. Turn humanity into a storyline and sell it back as empathy. Loren and Alexei were masters at being real, but the longer they stayed authentic, the less control TLC had over them. And control is everything. Once you start controlling your own story, the network no longer owns you. That's when the dynamic shifts. The couple who was once the brand's pride becomes a liability. They can speak directly to millions through social media. They don't need producers to mediate their voice. For a network, that independence looks like defiance. It challenges the system. Because if one couple proves they can build a loyal fan base outside the show, others might follow. And that's the dark undercurrent of this saga. It's not only about creative differences or ratings. It's about ownership, of image, of narrative, of profit. TLC may have legally produced the content, but Loren and Alexei carried the emotional weight that kept people watching. When they left, the network didn't just lose 2 cast members. They lost their credibility. As viewers, we have to admit something uncomfortable. We're part of this machine too. We reward the networks that keep pushing pain for ratings. We demand authenticity, but consume scandal. We call these people family, but the moment a storyline slows down, we scroll to someone new. It's a cycle that turns real lives into cliffhangers. And in that cycle, the audience's empathy gets tangled with entertainment. The same fans who cried for Loren and Alexei are now watching other couples fall apart with popcorn in hand. It's not hypocrisy, it's conditioning. Reality TV trains us to crave emotional highs, even when they come from someone else's lows. When we start confusing reality for connection, every cut feels like heartbreak. This is what makes the Loren and Alexei fallout so haunting. It exposed the fragile bond between the real and the produced. TLC wanted to move on quietly, but by erasing its most relatable couple, it accidentally reminded viewers that none of it is safe from editing, not even love. Some fans now say they're done watching. Others keep tuning in, but with a different mindset. The spell has been broken. Once you've seen the gears turning behind the screen, it's impossible to go back to innocence. And yet, there's something poetic about that realization. Maybe the end of this story is a wake-up call for everyone, networks, cast, and viewers alike, to treat these people as human, not as plot lines. The real scandal isn't who got fired. It's how easily real life gets rewritten when the cameras stop. After the dust settled, the silence from Loren and Alexei spoke louder than any statement could. They didn't lash out, didn't go live to spill secrets, didn't post cryptic shade. Instead, they stayed calm, sharing moments from their daily life like nothing had changed. Family walks, toddler chaos, quiet smiles. To some fans, that silence felt like grace. To others, it looked like fear. Maybe they were under strict contracts. Maybe they were protecting their peace. Or maybe they'd finally realized that the peace itself was worth more than fame. Their social media became the new version of their show. No producers, no dramatic music, no edits cutting them into caricatures. Just them, unfiltered. And in a way, that's the poetic twist to this entire saga. TLC may have ended their story on TV, but they found a way to keep living it in real time. The audience followed them there too. Their comment sections turned into digital living rooms where fans checked in, offered support, and vented about how much they missed seeing them on air. When a fandom follows you off the network, that's not cancellation, that's evolution. They've built something outside the system now. Loren uses her platform to advocate for Tourette syndrome awareness and to speak openly about motherhood without pretending it's perfect. Alexei focuses on fitness and family, posting clips that feel grounded, real, unproduced. They've proven that you can walk away from a network and still keep your identity intact. In some ways, they're freer now than they've ever been. But their departure left a hole in the franchise that no new couple has been able to fill. The newer storylines feel louder but emptier. Fans say the magic's gone, that the emotional honesty Loren and Alexei brought can't be replicated. TLC tried to shift focus to other faces, other dramas, but the absence still echoes through every episode. You can feel it in the comments. People watching out of habit, not heart. It's almost poetic justice. The network that tried to erase them ended up highlighting how essential they were. Every time a new cast member tries to recreate their dynamic, it feels forced. You can't manufacture sincerity. The audience can sense it instantly. That's what made Loren and Alexei different. They weren't trying to be perfect, they were trying to be themselves. And that honesty built trust the network couldn't replicate. Sometimes, the most powerful revenge in reality TV is peace and silence. Fans are still split on what really happened. Some think TLC made a business decision. Others are convinced there's something deeper that will come out eventually. But regardless of the reason, the emotional truth remains the same. The couple who once defined the franchise became the proof that even reality has an expiration date. And yet, their legacy hasn't faded. It lives on in fan pages, compilations, podcasts, and late-night TikToks replaying their best moments. Every time someone posts, "This was real love," it's a quiet protest against how the story ended. It's the audience saying they still care. So maybe this isn't a tragedy after all. Maybe it's a full-circle story about control, courage, and closure. Loren and Alexei didn't lose everything. They took it back. They reminded viewers that behind every reality headline, there's a heartbeat that doesn't stop when the credits roll. And if TLC thought firing them for life would end their influence, the opposite happened. It created a legacy that doesn't depend on airtime. It turned their silence into a statement. It made fans look closer, question harder, and care deeper about what they watch. Because sometimes the most shocking plot twist is realizing the love story never needed the network in the first place. And as for what's next? Let's just say the next couple facing the spotlight might want to take notes. The cycle always repeats, but this time, fans are watching differently.